Joining us now, it's Kamau Franklin, who's the founder and board president of Community Movement Builders and a dedicated community organizer for over 20 years, along with Kalonji Changa, who is an award-winning political activist and the founder of a national coordinator of the social justice organization FTP movement. And they are both co-hosts of the longtime political podcast Renegade Culture. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Like It or Not. How you doing?
Doing good.
Actually, an absolute pleasure. I had a chance to come on your show back during the election, and I knew, and actually, Kamau, I've known your work here in Atlanta for some time. Tell us about the two of you, your activism and the collaboration that you're doing with Renegade Culture. Kamau, I'll start with you.
Well, we've known each other for a few years through organizing in activist circles. I would call them like self-determination circles, organizing in the Black community. Both, doing our own thing. And a few years ago, we decided to sort of join up and to create sort of an umbrella organization called the Siafo Movement, where we took our different formations and basically formed sort of an alliance where we decided to do community work together, youth programming, organizing rallies, infrastructure building. And I think even part of what came out of that in terms of developing our friendship was Renegade Culture, which became our podcast and sort of a signature way in which we sort of talk to a larger audience. So, we've been rocking with each other for a couple of years. Sometimes people are a little shocked to see us together, because I'm so, handsome and debonair and all that kind of stuff. And I'm running with Kalonji. So, that kind of stuff, I have to put them down, let them know that my man is cool, even though I got to carry things sometimes, I
love it. Kalonji, on Renegade Culture, like y'all not playing around with this thing, right? You guys cut straight to the core of the matter. You talk about whether or not socialism is good for Black people, or you cut to the rights of Black people to bear arms. It has a revolutionary perspective. Talk about the podcast and the show.
Oh man, yeah, podcast is. For us, it's a tool for liberation. You know what I mean? We like to use what we call the cherry cough drop theory. We make it taste so good that folks forget it's medicine. You know what I mean? So
Money.
We are organizers and freedom fighters first. We use whatever form of creative resistance that we can to get our point across. So Renegade Culture is, it fits because the renegade's in his culture, and we we love our job, but we want to, share the love with other people in a way that, everyday people can understand, and dig.
Yeah. I love the analogy. Like you make it so good that people don't realize that they're getting their medicine. Because that's talk about the hesitation and the reticence that you get, or the pushback that you get from even in the Black community, right? Because we're not just fighting for liberation against white supremacy. We're fighting for liberation against white supremacy that's embedded in the minds of even Black people. I don't know which one of you want to take that, but speak to that for me.
I'll let the less attractive guy go first.
I would say, when we are decidedly radicals, right? We are decidedly in a certain camp. That it doesn't mean we won't have fuller discussions with everybody in terms of different ideas and ideologies within a larger Black community. But we come at it from a certain vantage point of we are for the self-determination of our folks. If there's an institution or organization that has power over our people, we need to control that institution, control that organization, control that political entity. Or we need to destroy it or get it off our backs. So, we're not wishy-washy when it comes to, what we think needs to happen for our liberation, right? So we get pushback, I would say, obviously conservatives, but, probably more surprisingly, maybe even less surprisingly, I guess, from like liberals, right? Not only white liberals, but Black liberals. So we get folks who are like sort of tied into the apparatus of the Democratic Party to where they can't separate themselves and the needs of Black people from the Democratic Party. And some folks we work with who work strategically within the Democratic Party, but there are others who they see the Black struggle as one in the same. They see whatever is good for the Democrats must be good for Black folks. And we don't think that is the history that we as a people can point to that says that whatever the Democrats want or needs, it doesn't necessarily match up with what our needs are as a people. And so, that sometimes becomes a rub for us talking about, like, what Joe Biden represents, right? We think Trump obviously represents a certain overt form of white supremacy. We think Biden represents a more subvert type of white supremacy, but still it's white supremacy. So it doesn't mean we don't have to deal with these folks in these politics, but we have to have a certain vantage point again in thinking of what it is that we want to get out of the system as opposed to being co-opted by it.
Right.
So
I think to add on to what, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say to add on to what Kamau was saying, I think that, we represent a sector of the community that's often ignored. And I think that even within the quote unquote grassroots organizing communities, we are somewhat outcast because we have an unorthodox style of organizing. You know what I mean? We're not politically correct because the politics aren't correct. You know what I mean? So our style it's more brazen. It's I guess it can be compared to I would say a cross between an NWA and a Public Enemy if you were talking hip hop. We come with that raw, uncut, that the masses can feel, that the lumpen can unite with. But at the same time, we're able to dibble and dabble in all types of different circles. So with Renegade Culture, when you check it out, you might see former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney one day. The next day, you might see Pillow Mike on there. You may see speech from Arrested Development. The next day, you might see a grassroots gun club from Louisiana. So we try to hit all angles. From the quote unquote elders or what we call the OGs, the original guerrillas, to the youth. Because we think that it's important for us to leave no stones unturned.
I mean, that's pretty big, you guys. And a lot of people might call that a radical thing, right? You said NWA, that's pretty radical for a lot of people. But the thing that you're doing, the organizing, is still very important. It doesn't matter because some people may not like how it's packaged. A lot of Democrats like things to be packaged a certain kind of way. And you mentioned something. You guys aren't wishy-washy. And when it comes to Joe Biden, he gives a wishy-washy vibe, and you said that he still gives a form of white supremacy. When you do state things like that, is there pushback from other people who are organizing who don't want to organize with you guys because you speak the truth, what I call the truth about Joe Biden?
I mean, I would say, we are old school organizers, so we know all the folks in sort of the grassroots circles, folks who've been around most, 20, 30 years. Some are still friends, some are not, because that stuff happened. But, we know all those folks. Some of the folks who even become sort of celebrity activists and organizers at this stage, right? So there's definitely folks that I would say individually don't mess with me anymore because, I think there's got to be an opportunity to talk about movement capture, right? An opportunity to talk about, we know everybody needs resources to do this kind of work. That's understood. But when we so closely align our politics with, again, what's needed within the Democratic Party to win elections, sometimes we forget that those same Democrats also voted for welfare reform that devastated our community, or they also voted to bring in the prison industrial complex, which devastated our community. That they've also worked close hand in hand with white supremacists, that their international politics are around hegemony and keeping white supremacy and European control of resources and nation states under the U.S. system. So all those things, those differences, which may matter somewhat on the ground, a little bit here and there, don't for us outweigh the larger context in which the Democratic Party operates, and our challenge to them sort of vis-a-vis our position in the United States as an oppressed people, as a people who come from a place where we need to resist, not only what the Republicans are throwing down, but what the Democrats are throwing down. Because in the end, they're interested in maintaining their power, their wealth, their system. And we have to be interested in maintaining our right to self-determination, gaining power, and controlling resources in our own institutions and organizations.
I love that talk, man. I love that because it cuts to the core of the reality. The reality that we're not just fighting against white supremacy in the form of the Republican Party, but there obviously and clearly, very transparently, is white supremacy in the Democratic Party. What bugs me out about this, though, is that it is a game. It's a game to so many people where as long as their team is in power, yeah, I mean, I voted for Joe Biden because I wanted to get rid of the white supremacist in chief, but it took less than 5 days of him in office for me to realize, oh, we're going to have to fight just as hard against Joe Biden as we fought against Donald Trump. And it's like we're dealing with an entire, like, sometimes I feel like this fight is hopeless because so many people are wrapped into the overly simplistic thing of if my guy is doing it, it's fine. If Barack Obama is dropping drones, that's fine. If Kamala Harris is going to be, you know, dropping some pink and green drones, then that's fine. How do we separate that? Like it's an ongoing challenge that has been going on for years, but how do you guys strategically strike at that false dichotomy that so many people are wrapped up in?
Again, you know, our tagline is sucker-free news, politics, and social commentary. You know what I mean? So, you know, by default, you know, we have to come, you know, heavy like a Chevy. You know, we got to bring it to them the way it is because of the fact that I think that our people in the, you know, they suffer from the illusion of inclusion. You understand what I'm saying? They think that, you know, at some point, you know, if we just, you know, it's like playing this thing away. You know, we can, it's almost like, you know, when folks smoke, you know, or drink, you know, you're trying to get high. You're trying to, you know, get to another scene or whatever for the time being. But when that high goes down, you're still in the same conditions that you started out in. You know, we are abolitionists. We are clear that the system itself is flawed. So whether they have, you know, a Kamala Harris or a Ben Dixon or a Kamau Franklin in office, you know, like we talked about before, you know, it's like McDonald's. You can come in there as a master chef. You know what I mean? But whatever is on the menu, what we're eating. You understand what I'm saying? You're not coming with cordon bleu. We're not eating filet mignon. You know, we know you cook well, and you know you're able to come with all these briskets and all this beautiful food, but it's not happening here. It's Big Macs on the menu. And that's what, you know, the Happy Meal. That's what's going on. We don't care about, you know, you're a vegan. You hang out with Russell Simmons. You practice, you know, yoga. None of that matters. You know what I mean? And you have to go to, you know, one thing with boxing. You know, back in the day, you know, I used to box as a team, and one of the things we had to do was study the tape of other boxers, study other fighters, see how they get down. If we study the track record of a Kamala Harris or a Lion Joe Biden, then we'll be clear. You know, I respect the folks that say, okay, boom, I voted for Biden because of the fact that I was tired of one old white man, so I wanted to come with another old white man who may not be as rude. It's like choosing your whether you want to be raped or you want a simple sexual assault. Either way, you don't want either program. You know, at the end of the day, you don't want to be touched. And I think that once we look at it for what it is, we'll begin to change our tune. But for now, you know, it's all good in the hood. You know?
Yeah. Let's shift. I wanted to shift gears with you guys. I know that you guys are organizers, and a lot has gone down. And, you know, I mean, this has been going down as far as police brutality, police murders, or them murdering us. And when I say us, I mean Black people. And there was just news that came out about the Derek Chauvin case and how how basically the judge reinstates third-degree murder charge against Derek Chauvin. So would you guys say that is a step towards something great, particularly in this George Floyd murder? Or do you think that something will end correctly here?
I mean, I think the track record is, don't get your hopes up, right? The track record is that the court system, the criminal justice system protects its own. It doesn't protect Black people. It arrests Black people it victimizes Black people, it jails Black people, it imprisons Black people, and ultimately it kills Black people, right? So I wouldn't get my hopes up as an organizer or as, myself, a former practicing attorney, that just the reinstatement of charges means anything around what will ultimately happen with the conviction. In fact, and I go as far as to say, I think, this is similar to Rodney King, as in this was captured on videotape. There's been outrage about it. The difference so far has been that pre an outcome of a trial, there's been resistance in the streets. And so the system may also sacrifice this individual cop in order to keep things cool, right? Because ultimately what it's really about is, do they maintain power and control? And if that means every now and then throwing one of their own under a bus because the actions were so egregious, then that may happen. But that doesn't change the very nature of how policing is done on Black people in this country.
Yeah.
In fact, when we look at police murders, we're looking at the tip of the iceberg, because again, what we have is millions of stop and frisk, millions of arrests, millions of jailings and imprisonment. And so we are excess labor, and then we become cheap labor in prison. And that system still happens and still operates.
Yeah. You speaking my language, especially with the free labor, the slave labor that the prison industrial complex is capitalizing on every single day in this country. And it another story that I know you guys are familiar with, right here in Georgia, Kendrick Johnson. That case has been reopened, and it was the teenager who was found dead, rolled up in a gym mat 8 years ago. The investigation has been reopened, according to Lowndes County Sheriff Ashley Polk. The investigation concluded. The original investigation said that he accidentally slipped into the center of the mat while reaching for a shoe and got stuck. The story itself is disturbing. The insult to injury, where they are playing on our intelligence, is what's infuriating. I just kind of want to get your feedback in terms of what are you thinking with the reopening of the case? Because again, like even with the Derek Chauvin, I'm with you, Kamau. I'm past the stage where I get my hopes up for any justice from this injustice system.
I think I worked with the family of Kendrick Johnson when the case first went down. We've been supporters, members of organizations, have been back and forth, and it pains me every time I see the Johnsons, because of the fact that I know that they have a sense of determination. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, unfortunately, it's only so far you can go. To me, I think that these folks are playing with them, and it's unfortunate. I think that they're being tortured. I think there's been so many lies. I think they exhumed his body, I believe, twice already. So it's a very touchy case to me. So I look at it like, man, having children, not being able to fathom sending my child to school and him never coming back, and you telling me some cockamamie story like he dropped his shoe in the mat and got stuck in the mat. This young man was an athlete, for one. Number two, one of the things that a lot of folks aren't hearing is that the camera footage, it shows him going inside of the gym and never coming out. And then there's this space within the camera where, no one knows what happened. The camera mysteriously malfunctioned until the next day when they discover his body. So it's a disgusting case. But we realize that and recognize that we're in the state of Georgia. And Georgia is a traditionally racist part of this American pie. It's a racist piece of this American pie. And if you look at all the cases from Katherine Johnson, the 92-year-old who was gunned down here in Atlanta in her own home, if you look at the case of the young man who was jogging back in February in Brunswick, Georgia, I think that's his name. Yeah, Ahmad. It's so many different situations, but my heart goes out to the Johnsons because of the fact that they're truly fighters. But I think that what these people are doing is putting brown sugar on feces and calling it chocolate, and they're trying to just have us keep hope alive. you know, but at some point there has to be some type of consequences and repercussions that go beyond hoping and wishing and praying that they may decide to roll the dice and choose which one of their folks they want to throw under the bus.
Fellas, I wish we had more time to explore more of these issues with you. I'd love to have you back. But before you go, please tell everybody how they can support your program, because it is, I listen to it, and it is definitely worth subscribing to and supporting. How can they find your work?
Sure. Our work is blackpowermedia.org. And, you know, we have started a media company with Jared Ball, Sharice Burton-Stelly, the Lukemans, and some other folks to bring a media channel that's firmly ensconced in self-determination politics. So the YouTube channel is Black Power Media, and all our different shows are there for people to listen to and to watch.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Kamau Franklin, Kalonji Changa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys.
And tell Professor Ball I said, what's up? I mix what I like. I love his work too. I love you guys working together.
We had him on, and that was lovely. You guys are all, now I can see the connection now. No,
two dope brothers. We appreciate y'all, and we'd love to have you back anytime. Thanks so much.
Hey, we appreciate you. It's good to see you a little calm today. Last time we saw you, you was about to rip it up, man.
what are you talking about, man? He's like, I'm always calm. Until
conservative.
You know what I mean? I said, I don't have my hoodie on today. That's what it is. I got on my, I don't know what jacket this is instead of my hoodie. But nah, man, y'all put me in that room with that. Listen, man, I can handle conversations with my revolutionary brothers who are further revolutionary than me, to the left of me. What I can't handle are these cats to the right of me who say we need more capitalism, we need more Donald Trump, and we need that. That's stuff that set me off. So y'all put me in the lion's den, and I had to react accordingly. So y'all go, if you don't watch anything else, go watch that episode, because it was kind of a lot. And my shout out to our sister Noah Changa, who was on that episode with us. That was really dope.
Shout out to Noah.
Yeah.